Yeah, I see what they're saying, because like theoretically, if ICOSA tracks its ceiling price, then like you're also gaining hex while you're just holding ICOSA, and you're gaining more ICOSA, which is gaining more hex. So it's like your principal is yielding hex and your yield is yielding hex all at the same time, and like at least you know what was the word? How do I phrase this correctly? Normally, when you hold liquid hex, you're getting diluted by the T-share rate. But if this premise holds, ICOSA holding its ceiling price, then you're actually not getting diluted as the T-share rate's going up. The value of your token is tracking the T-share rate. But the big premise there is like if it's tracking the ceiling. So if it ever breaks, then that's no longer true. But the mechanism in place to get it back to the ceiling, or to push momentum to get it back to the ceiling, is the staking incentives, as well as the HSIs on the liquidation option. Like all of those things kind of together, if it ever breaks, means that people who are bullish long term in ICOSA have an opportunity to accumulate it faster than they normally would have if it was at the ceiling price.
Yeah.
Well, Gift's
and there's
talked about
incredible
too,
ARB opportunities there as well.
Yep.
That's what I was going to say. Gift has talked about in length about the ARB opportunities, the wicks down and stuff like that.
They're insane.
It's crazy. Like the buying it off the market is another way. Like you said, so like are there 2, 3, like what are the ways to where it keeps that balance of the ceiling?
Oh yeah. So the ceiling basically is held together. Well, it's not held together, but it's definitely capped because of arbitrage. So if the price of ICOSA ever goes so high where you can put $1,000 into the market by buying hex, staking it, and then the ICOSA that you can mint from that max stake length is like $1,200, then you immediately profit. So like you put in $1,000, you get to $1,200, and you just do that until the price equivalent goes down to where that opportunity is no longer there. So that's pretty strong, which is why it's a ceiling, because it can't go any higher. Anytime it goes higher, it just gets smacked right back down. Now, if it goes lower than the ceiling, then essentially what that means is that, and it's just what I said before, you are able to accumulate more ICOSA than if you were to be staking hex and selling it to the HSI buyback formula, through the HSI buyback feature. So your ability to increase your position within the ICOSA staking pool, you're able to increase that at a faster velocity than before, which also means you're able to outcompete those who aren't buying those coins. Because a price dip just means that there are more coins on one side of an LP pair than the other. Like you're adding more coins to one side and the other side staying stagnant or decreasing. And so that opportunity to reach to get ICOSA at a deal relative to the native HSI buyback mechanism is finite, because there are only so many coins that you can buy up until the ratio goes right back to that ceiling price.
Right.
I think that covered it more or less. I don't know, Gift, did I miss anything?
I mean, you didn't miss anything. I look at it a little bit differently, though. I believe, after studying kind of that ceiling, that ARB area over a certain amount of time, it's becoming more and more obvious. It's more of a supply and demand threshold, because just because somebody uses the ICOSA contract to sell their HSI and receive ICOSA does not in and of itself drop the price. They have to then go on the market and sell it, right? So that is introducing more supply to the market to meet the demand. And when it overtakes the demand, when the supply overtakes the demand and the sell pressure then kicks in, that's when it goes down below that area, right? And then in theory, what is supposed to happen is when it's down and it's low, the supply stops hitting the market. People stop selling their HSIs for ICOSA and introducing new tokens into the system, more inflation, right?
Yep.
But what's interesting is what we have seen when those last 2 dips that we have seen in ICOSA, people did not stop selling their HSIs to the ICOSA contract. On the biggest dip that we got on I guess it's not last month now. Wasn't it in September 20 something?
I'll look it up while you
I'm sure I got a chart somewhere here. Well, on that date, when it took a 40% discount, right? There was 36 HSIs sold to the contract.
Yeah.
On that day. Like that, so that would probably explain why it took 2 days to get back up to that same area. Is the market had to overtake the new supply that was being dished out, even when the price was below the ceiling price.
Wait, but not every. So it's like, yeah, every time you sell an HSI, that's new inflation, but not all of that inflation necessarily hits the market, right? So like, just because the coin's inflating doesn't mean the price is going down necessarily. You know,
No.
so like were those HSI, like, do you know if those HSIs that were being sold that ICOSA hit the market? You probably don't.
I got
know,
through about 10 to or no. Actually, yes, I do. There was of the 36, there was 14 that were sold on the market that was clearly using some sort of bot or scripting technique, because it basically pumped out 14 HSIs and sold to the contract and then sold on the market almost immediately.
And they sold those for a loss?
Pretty wild.
They sold those for a loss? Okay, so that's just people being stupid. that's just people like not writing.
No, because it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't make sense. That does not. The whole point of the system is to incentivize people to stop selling them on the market and wait for the market to come back. Let the demand, equilibrate.
Yeah.
And so I find this to be super bullish news. This is bullish news. I was slightly sweating some bullets watching it hanging below that threshold for 2 straight days. Like I figured, this is gonna take a couple hours and this is gonna be right back up there. But there was some sell pressure involved there as well. So and it was the first legitimate dip that we've seen in ICOSA from that area. First so one. That's always gonna worry everybody. Everybody's gonna start watching it like crazy.
Well, we just need more data. It hasn't been that long. I mean, it's been 2 months, 3 months, maybe.
Yeah.
We still have some big data coming out, and that's like day 180, day 270, and day 360. So like most of the chart that we're seeing right now is a reflection of the formula, the rate that you can get the HSI buyback, the ICOSA via the HSI buyback mechanism. But once we start getting inflation from the staking mechanism of people unlocking their stakes, that's when we start to kind of dilute the power of the HSI buyback ratio.
But wait, before we jump on that too fast, there's this dichotomy that we always have a hard time like wrapping our heads around with ICOSA Hedron staking, and that is there is a minimum, not a maximum, right? Yep. People still ask all the time in Telegram. You know this. They ask all the time, like, "Hey, I want to stake for a year, but it's only letting me stake 30 days." It's like, no. That's your minimum. That's your minimum. Just keep them in there. You will still get yield every day, right? You just, right? So
that's funny.
So the idea of this extra inflation coming in on day 180 is going to be very we shouldn't plan on that happening. I don't think we should plan on that happening. I think you're going to see a lot of people take advantage of that to try to sell off their ICOSA for some gains or use their Hedron or whatnot. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but the largest stakers, I would bet, just keep them in there, especially people using the waterfall strategy, because it does not incentivize you to wreck your waterfall strategy to pull out and sell $100 in gains or even $1,000 in gains or whatever. You wreck your whole strategy once you do that.